Hey kid.
In a world full of spotlights and thunderous applause, where the stage is the altar and voices are the currency of eternity, who would have thought that an idol like Jungkook was hiding a secret symphony that had never been heard? But that night the world heard no song, no musical accompaniment, no spotlights, just a simple video, 5 minutes of silence, uploaded silently to Weverse. No caption, no notification, just silence, which turned out to be louder than 1,000 concerts. On the screen there was a young man sitting in a small room with warm light falling softly on his face. Black hoodie, puffy eyes, hoarse voice. There was no Jungkook BTS there. Just Jungkook, an ordinary human being, opening the page he had kept hidden behind his fame. "I want to be honest," he said softly. "It's time for me to speak." And with that word the world stopped. Not about a comeback. Not about a solo album. But about a name that was not mentioned, but felt alive in his every breath. "I'm in love. It's been a long time. But I'm scared. Because I know this love shouldn't hurt anyone. It shouldn't burden anyone. Especially him, who makes me feel alive even when I feel dead inside." The words were like a window opening on a stuffy night. The world began to dig in. Who was he? A celebrity? An actor? Or someone no one had ever thought of? "He was a nobody in the eyes of the world," she said. "But he was everything to me. He wasn't famous, didn't shine on the screen. But he read my lyrics before anyone else. Heard my voice before I spoke. Caught my tears before they even fell." And then the words that cut through the silence into a wound. "He's gone. It's been a few years. But he's still alive in my music. In every lyric. In every whisper of the night." Her tears fell, not as a celebrity who'd lost, but as young people who'd put off saying goodbye for too long. ARMY, watching from all over the world, weren't just crying, they were mourning. Not because they'd lost the same person, but because they'd felt a similar loss. Jungkook's songs suddenly sounded different. "Still With You" was no longer just a nightcap, but the voice of someone singing to the spirit of a loved one. "My You" became a letter that was never sent. "Standing Next to You" felt like a hope that could no longer be realized except in dreams. She once said, "If you can't love me in real life, love me in your songs," Jungkook said. And I did. Every day. Without you knowing. Many dug up his videos. In an old vlog he once looked up at the sky and whispered, "Are you still there?" Now it felt like a prayer that never stopped being prayed. Fans began sharing theories. Some believed it was about a childhood friend named Sunshine, a name that was only mentioned once in an old interview and never repeated again. Some believed it was a first love who died in an accident. Others were convinced that love was not one person, but a soul that now haunts every Jungkook song. But maybe we will never know who he is. And maybe that's what makes it the most beautiful. Because love that is not named, not held, not owned, is the most eternal love. "I never got to tell her this," Jungkook concluded his video. "But if you hear it wherever you are, I love you. And I will always love you." The screen went dark. The world fell silent. But the hearts of those watching were still shaking. After that night his songs climbed back to the top. But not because of promotions. Not because of strategy. But because people wanted to hear the love that was left behind. The love that was buried with someone the world never knew, but lived in every note. HYBE has yet to comment. The other BTS members have yet to speak. But there are whispers. Jin called immediately. Suga came in secret. And Jimin cried alone while watching the video in his room. No one knows the rest of this story. But one thing is now a legacy. Jungkook has written the most honest love, not on an album but in the night sky. And we all bear witness to a love that was never conveyed, but finally heard. For ARMY, the video was not just a confession. It was an invitation to mourn. To love. To understand that their idol was not only the owner of a golden voice, but also the keeper of the most fragile secret, a love that never ends. And after that night something changed. Not just in the music world but in the way people view love. Love no longer has to be announced. It doesn't have to have a form. It doesn't have to be reciprocated. Because Jungkook has proven that love that is not celebrated can still live, as long as there is still one heart that keeps it. In the following days the media began to guess. Analysts tried to unravel who the mysterious figure was. They compared the timestamps of the songs with moments in Jungkook's life. Every pause, every glance, every line of lyrics is now reread like a holy book containing secrets. But ARMY knows. This story is not to be revealed, but to be guarded. They refuse to be detectives. They chose to be protectors. Their comments turned into virtual hugs. Thank you for loving someone so deeply, Kook. We don't need to know who she is. Just know that you love her in the most beautiful way. Let your songs be a soft tomb for her feelings. And indeed, every song now sounds like a prayer. Not just for those who have passed away, but also for those of us who are still holding on, with wounds that have yet to heal. Jungkook has turned loss into art, pain into a symphony, and longing into a timeless song. In a brief, unintentional interview, one of the production staff said quietly, "He didn't cry while recording, but he always closed his eyes after the last take, like he was saying goodbye to someone." Since the video was uploaded, fans have begun to perform rituals. Some light candles every night while listening to "Still With You." Some write letters to their departed lovers, then burn them under the moon. Others just sit quietly, earphones on, and tears fall without words. Jungkook never talks about the video again. He doesn't pull it down, but he doesn't explain anything either. Only occasionally, when performing on stage, does he close his eyes longer than usual. And we know, behind the glare of the light, he is talking to someone invisible. "I wrote a song for you," he said in a whispered concert. "But I will never release it. Because it is not for the world. It is only for you." And the audience was silent. No cheering. No crying out loud. Just looking at him with unspoken love, because they understood that sometimes true love is not about possessing, but about allowing someone to live in memories without limits. The concerts that followed became quieter, deeper, more spiritual. There were parts of Jungkook's performances that could no longer be explained in words. His smile was still warm. His dancing was still precise. But there was a small gap in his eyes, as if a part of him was always dancing with the shadows. And in every piano twang, every echo of background noise, it felt like two people were singing, not one. Maybe a love like this will never happen again in the world of K-pop. A love that does not want to be bought and sold. Does not want to be modified. Does not want to be in the spotlight. A love that was born in silence, grew in silence, and died in a song that only one soul could hear. And Jungkook. He will continue to sing. Not for popularity. Not for awards. But for someone who once said to him, "If I have to go before you, don't keep me in your tears. Keep me in your songs." And he did. Faithfully. Gently. With undying love. And just like that, the silent love that once lived behind the scenes now breathes amidst the whispers of melody. Time passes and the world moves on as usual. Album releases, new commercials, tour dates, major collaborations. But something about Jungkook slowly changes. Not dramatically, not flashily, but like a leaf falling silently, he begins to choose to be quiet in the crowd. He doesn't talk much on variety shows. He doesn't often engage in small talk. But when the microphone touches his lips and the music starts to play, the world falls silent, because his voice isn't just singing. He's speaking something deeper than words. At one particular concert, the stage lights went out for 10 seconds before the encore. In the darkness, only one voice can be heard, Jungkook's soft murmur, almost a prayer. Many didn't hear it clearly. But a few fans caught a snippet of words. "If you can still hear me, I haven't stopped writing for you." Tears broke out in the silence. Not because of the song, but because of the unspoken truth, that true love doesn't need a happy ending. He just needed the courage to stay, even in his absence. And since then, things have changed quietly for ARMY. In the fanbase, they created a small section called Sky Letters, where thousands of people wrote messages to their loved ones who had passed away. The messages were written on blue paper, then folded into little birds and sent into the sky in a special event titled, "For the Love That Still Sings, Even Though It Has Been Silent." Jungkook himself was present quietly at one of the events, without makeup, without the spotlight. He just sat in the corner, watching the paper birds fly. His hand was holding a white envelope that had never been opened in front of anyone. Then in a behind-the-scenes video, a crew member whispered to the cameraman. That envelope was always with him in his bag. For years. He never threw it away. And the public began to understand, it wasn't who the person in the song was that mattered, but how that love was lived. He didn't show it off. He didn't demand to be remembered. He just wrote, sang, and breathed among memories that not everyone could understand. For Jungkook, songs aren't just works of art. They're delicate tombs where memories are buried, so they won't be lost in time. And for those of us who hear them, they serve as reminders that we're not alone in our loss. At the end of a special documentary, the final narration is written with a sentence that fans have later engraved on thousands of digital banners. In a world full of voices, Jungkook chose silence. And in his silence, we found the most honest song ever. Not about who, but about how love can live on, even after leaving. Now, every time we hear "Still With You," we know it wasn't just a song. It was a letter. It was a final embrace. It was a love that was never had but never betrayed. And when the night sky is quiet, and Jungkook's voice drifts softly, we close our eyes and say to ourselves, he's still singing. For someone who once lived in his chest, and now lives too in all our songs.